A balloon mortgage is a mortgage that goes higher whenever you take debts.
A mortgage that the interest rate can fluctuate, go up and down, maybe?
A balloon mortgage is a mortgage that gets higher or raises or it gets bigger.
Eventually, over time, it continues to rise and rise and rise, just like helium in a balloon.
Now, let's look at some bad ideas in real estate. Bad idea, adjustable rate mortgage. Adjustable rate mortgages were brought on with the advent of high interest rates in the early 1980s. We talked about this a little bit in the debt lesson. It's the bank transferring risk to you of higher interest rates. As rates go up, they don't want to be stuck in cheap mortgages again. They want you to go with them as rates go up. And so the concept of the ARM is to transfer the risk of higher interest rates to the borrower. Of course, interest-only loans are a bad idea because you're only paying the interest. Well, if you pay extra, it goes towards the principal. So does it on a regular mortgage. You don't have to have an interest-only to do that. A regular FHA, a regular conventional, a regular VA. If you pay extra on it, it goes extra. Well, I was planning on paying extra. Good. Don't take out an interest only because then there's a chance you would pay only the interest. Dumb idea. Reverse mortgages. Dumb idea. I worked my whole life to get out of debt. And now I'm going to let them pay me payments while my debt goes back up. The Federal Trade Commission says reverse mortgages are fraught with fraud and con artists. Now, everybody that does reverse mortgage is not a con artist. That's not what I'm saying. But there's all kinds of con artists around this issue, and the reason is they're primarily targeted at the elderly, and the elderly are always a target for cons. So you got to be very, very, very careful with these. If you get a legitimate reverse mortgage, even then your fees and interest rates are ridiculous and high. It's a bad, bad, bad plan. Stay away from it. Accelerated or biweekly payoff. Now, the idea of paying extra, accelerating your payment on your mortgage is not a bad idea. The idea of paying extra on your mortgage by doing a biweekly is not a bad idea. The idea of paying someone a fee to cause this to happen is a bad idea. There are companies out there that will sell you magic software for $3,000 or $4,000. And the magic software will cause you to get your budget together, and you will not even have to cut your spending habits, and your mortgage will magically reduce. Bull! Mortgages don't magically reduce. Mortgages reduce when you do one thing, when you pay extra on the principal. And no software makes you do that. You got to make you do that. The biweekly mortgage is not a bad idea, but don't pay somebody $400 or $500 to set up the biweekly mortgage. What the biweekly mortgage is you pay half a payment every 2 weeks. There are 26 two-week periods in a year. 26 halves is 13 wholes. That's like paying an extra payment a year. That's why your mortgage pays off quicker with a biweekly. It's not because it's half a payment every 2 weeks. There's no magic in the 2-week math. That's garbage. Now, if you want to set up a biweekly mortgage and you don't pay extra to do it, that's fine. But don't pay somebody $400 or $500 to pay extra on your principal in any of these cases. Dumb idea. Well, Dave, I don't want to pay off my mortgage. I get a tax advantage. How many of you ever heard, I don't want to pay off my mortgage, I get a tax break. I'll lose my tax deduction if I pay off my mortgage. Have you heard that? Raise your hand. Everybody's heard that. And financial people go, oh, no, you would never want to pay off your home mortgage. You're going to lose your tax deduction. I'm always confused by financial people who can't add. I want you to help me with this and show you why that this does not make sense, why this is another one of those financial myths that's out there. Let's take a $200,000 mortgage for just a second. If I had a $200,000 mortgage at 5% interest, if I had a $200,000 mortgage at 5% interest, the interest I would have paid that year would be 5% of $200,000, which would be $10,000. Does that sound right? Say yes. Yes. So basically a $200,000 mortgage at 5% creates $10,000 in annual interest paid. Now, if you make $70,000 a year, and if you itemize in your taxes, you can deduct, you don't have to make 70, but if you pay out $10,000, you can deduct that on your taxes if you itemize, can't you? As a tax deduction, say yes. Yes. No trick questions here. So if I make $70,000 a year and I deduct $10,000, I don't pay taxes on 70, I pay taxes on 60. Now, if you were to pay off your house because you're a wild and crazy Dave Ramsey nut, then you would lose that interest because you're not paying interest anymore, and you're going to pay taxes not on $60,000 worth of income, but on 70. So you're going to pay taxes on an extra $10,000 of income. Right now, if you're making $70,000 a year, you're in the 25% tax bracket. So your taxes on $10,000 would be 25% of $10,000. Does that sound right? Say yes. 25% of $10,000 is $2,500. And so you could pay the bank $10,000 to keep from paying the government $2,500. That's a tax deduction. Let me try that again because I don't think you got through. A tax deduction is sending the bank $10,000 to keep from sending the government $2,500. This is dumb. Here's an idea. What if you paid off your house and you gave your church $10,000? Would it have exactly the same effect? Yes. Why aren't all the financial goobers running around going, increase your charitable giving? Increase your charitable giving to certified 501c3s. Why don't you increase your charitable giving? Why don't we hear that one all the time? And you don't have to go in debt to do that. You can trade $10,000 for $2,500 as many times as you want to until you start making too much money and you're one of those evil rich people and they'll take that away too. But other than that, right? You know, most people itemizing can take a charitable deduction, can they not? A huge charitable deduction. You don't have to be in debt to do that. Weirdness out there. But CPAs, people that are certified public accountants, can't add and tell people to keep their home mortgage because they don't want to lose the tax deduction. I want to lose my tax deduction. And I want to instead give it to something that matters and take the same tax deduction later. But that'll not be because of the tax deduction. That'll be because of the giving is the right thing to do.
I recommend getting a mortgage from a mortgage company, and you want to get what's called a conforming mortgage, meaning it conforms to general, conventional, or FHA or VA guidelines. I recommend the conventional mortgage, but that's the cheapest interest rates, and always remember, a 15-year fixed rate mortgage where your payment is no more than a fourth of your take-home pay.
I think Sally and Fannie Mae means like it's a type of name that helps give you an answer to your money or something like that.
Sally and Fannie Mae probably mean a fundraiser. Sally and Fannie Mae means... I'm sorry, I have no idea.
Sally and Fannie Mae is the cookies that my grandmother makes for me.
Let's look at the different kinds of mortgages. Conventional mortgages. Conventional mortgages. This is usually through Fannie Mae or Ginnie Mae. Federal National Mortgage Association. It's privately insured against default. What that means is these loans are packaged together and they're sold as bonds, and they're what are called conforming mortgages. All of that to say it's a very generic, very structured process for you to get a conventional mortgage. And they are insured by you with a thing called private mortgage insurance, PMI. PMI is foreclosure insurance. If you get foreclosed on and the bank loses money, the insurance company pays the bank for the money they lost. That's what private mortgage insurance is. And if you don't put down at least 20% on a conventional loan, they require you to buy PMI. And right now it's costing you about $70 a month per $100,000 borrowed. And so PMI can be avoided by putting down at least 20%. By the way, if you have paid your mortgage down on a conventional to 20% down to an 80% loan to value, you can cause them to drop the PMI. Or if you can get the house appraised in many cases by an appraisal company that is certified and accepted by your mortgage company, you can spend $400 or $500 getting that appraisal done, and you can show that there's at least a 20% equity position, they will drop the PMI. So that's something to look at. Another kind of loan is the FHA loan, which is insured by HUD, the Housing and Urban Development Department, okay? So the FHA loan is a loan that is insured by the government. So if you get foreclosed on, the government insures that bank that they're not going to lose money on you. These loans allow small down payments as low as 3%, and especially are targeted at lower priced homes. A lot of your first-time home buyer programs have an FHA loan at their core in some way. They are currently more expensive than conventional financing, and I do not recommend an FHA loan. You're going to put down a good down payment. You're going to be in good shape when you buy if you do it the way I teach, and you can avoid a lot of fees, and you can get a cheaper loan by doing a conventional loan. The VA loan is insured by the Veterans Administration. This is designed to benefit the veteran. The seller can pay everything, and you really can move in with absolutely nothing out of pocket at all. Problem is there's a lot of fees built into these, and the interest rates are very high. With a good down payment, the conventional loan is a better loan than the VA, which is a shame because the VA ought to have it set up where it's good for the veteran. But really, if you're a veteran, I wouldn't buy a VA loan. I'd buy a conventional loan. It's a better deal for you. Owner financing. This is when you pay the owner over time, making him or her the mortgage holder. So if I were to buy a home from this gentleman right here, the house was paid for, and we would just do an owner finance deal, then I could give him $10,000 down or $20,000 down and agree to monthly payments just like I would have been paying a mortgage company, but he would receive the monthly payments and he would credit them just like the mortgage company. He becomes my mortgage payment. It's owner financing. Now the cool thing about that, it's a great way to finance because you can be very creative in how you structure the loan. You know, if the house is all torn up and you're buying it from an estate, you could move into the house and have no payments for a year to give you time to do the renovation out of pocket with what would have been payments. And so you could just make something up as long as you and I agree to it, and we stick to what we agreed to, then there's not going to be a problem. You can just make it up. Now, if you've got any owner financing, here's a suggestion. With rates down, why don't you call them up and ask them if you pay them off early how much of a discount they'll give you. Maybe you owe them $100,000. If you gave it to them right now, and you don't have to, I mean, it may be a 30-year deal. They're going to wait forever, getting a little bit at a time, but I'll give it to you right now if you'll take $70,000. They might knock $30,000 off and you go get you a new mortgage and knock those guys out. That'd be a huge discount. And that right there would have paid for this course about 1,000 times over. So you just made your money back on that one thing if you're in an owner finance situation. Now, the deal with real estate is simply this. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing to own real estate. Do not buy real estate quickly. Move slowly. Be the tortoise. Don't be the hare. People run around, you need to buy a house, got 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 to buy a house. You don't have to buy a house. You'll get a house. Don't let the house get you. When you buy a house and you're broke, Murphy will move in your spare bedroom. He'll bring his 3 cousins, broke, desperate, and stupid, with him. They will own your life. You'll turn your life to where it looks like a country song. What you thought was going to be a blessing will be a curse. Because everybody runs around, got to buy a house, got to buy a house, got to buy a house. Don't buy a house. Do not buy a house until you're financially ready. And then that home will be a blessing rather than a curse.
When are you ready to buy a house? When you have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, when you're debt-free, and you have at least 10% down. Your house payment should be no more than 25%. That's 1/4 of your take-home pay. Owning a home carries some expenses that you won't have if you rent. Maintenance, you pay for and fix up the leak in the roof and the furnace that breaks down. And with all that extra space, you're going to need more furniture, and appliances don't always come with the house. When was the last time you had to mow and rake? Probably not too long ago if you're still living at home. Now don't get me wrong, owning a home does have advantages. It's yours. It's an investment. But these can easily become disadvantages if you've not planned and saved ahead of time. Be patient, rent cheap, and save up. Never buy timeshares or trailers or mobile homes. They're bad investments. Never buy a house with 0% interest. Never get an adjustable rate or a balloon mortgage. Always work through a realtor. Always put as much down as you can when you're buying, and always take out no more than a 15-year mortgage. And a good rule of thumb, your rent or house payment should be no more than 1/4 of your take-home pay.